good, y'all? Welcome back to another review on Infinite Takes. Almost said Infinite Opinions. That probably would have been a good name for the channel too, but we're gonna stick with Infinite Takes. Maybe I'll make another channel that's something else, and we call that Infinite Opinions. Maybe. But we are here with another SmackDown review. It's Saturday. You know what we do on Saturdays. SmackDown reviews. This is the February. Well, I said it like that. This is the February. What 18th edition? 19th? I think 19th. Nope. 16th. February 16th edition of Friday Night SmackDown. This was advertised to be a big SmackDown, but we're gonna get into all of that. The show opens with The Rock entering the arena. Pretty pretty good way to enter. Not enter to start the show. And Corey Graves says a line that is he says tonight greatness is upon us. Something of that nature. Which I thought was a pretty interesting line to start the show off with. The show does start with KO versus Dom, which was a better match than I was actually expecting it to be. Actually, it was the exact match I was kind of expecting it to be. I think it just panned out a little better in certain spots. I didn't expect it to go the way it did, but KO comes out and then Dom comes out and then he cuts his usual promo, especially when he's a one-on-one match and there's no Judgment Day on the show with him. It's just him coming out to like speak so he could get booed. You know his stick. A pretty good stick though. Pretty good stick. It's not a bad one. He comes out. I don't even remember what he said. Oh yeah, he says he basically just runs down what he did last week. Like I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the show is people running down what they did the week prior or said the week prior. They're just kind of reiterating it. Not saying there's no story development this week, but there's some story development in some cases. But there's a lot of people just repeating themselves, and it's not always a bad thing, but whatever. He says Finn and Damien will beat, almost said DIY, not DIY, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, almost said Tyler Brass. What am I thinking of, bro? He will beat Pete Dunne, they will beat Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. And then he said Rhea will beat Nia and he will win it. He will win this qualifying match to go on to win the Elimination Chamber, and then to go on to beat Seth for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. He said this all last week, by the way. He might have not said like the. He said most of this last week. We could chalk it up as that. Match goes on. We get to like around the middle of the match where, some interesting stuff start happening. Not middle, but I guess you could say middle part of the match. Nah, it's still in the beginning. It's still like in the beginning, like quarter through the match. The reason KO was on the outside, and next thing you know, R-Truth just appears out of nowhere. I think he was under the ring. Not really sure where he came from. He just kind of appeared. Like, he literally just appeared out of nowhere. And Dom hits a baseball slide to hit KO. And it was very. Sometimes this R-Truth stuff is confusing me because, like, is he helping Judgment Day or is he not helping them? It's like he helps them in the beginning and then by the end of the match, he's not helping them at all. Which makes it even more confusing for me sometimes. That goes on for a little bit where Dom has the upper hand. KO gains momentum for a little bit. He hits a senton on the outside. He, I believe, throws Dom back in. Hits the cannonball in the corner. Which, I, I, I am a big fan of just sentons in general, especially like on the ground. I don't really like the Rey Mysterio sentons where he kind of like lands. I'm not really a big fan of those. Those are still good, but I like those other sentons. Like they just land on them with their back. Those are fun. And obviously the cannonball is very a classic. Dom reverses the pump up power bomb to hit an X Factor, but when he did an X Factor, he kind of botched it. Like it was such a bad botch that you would have to purposely try to fuck this move up to do it. And him doing X Factor, pretty cool. Dom was doing a lot of legends moves, which I do like. Xbox, shout out Xbox. Um, yeah, he KO goes for the pump power bomb. Dom basically just jumps over his head, uh, kicks him in the gut, and then he does the X Factor. Now The way he fucked up this move is that he just didn't jump high enough so when he like the height that he got on the jump, it just wasn't high enough, and by the time he landed feet first. And that's not like how you're supposed to do that. Ooh, you would just jump and just land on your fucking legs like it's supposed to be your legs straight out, but his feet landed and like he tripped. It looked very sloppy. Looked like a botch. Then goes for a three amigos, hits two of them, and then KO reverses. And he goes for his three amigo. He also hits two of them. Dom reverses that into a DDT, which was a pretty good sequence. Dom then goes for a frog splash, which he misses. KO then goes for a swanton, hits it. Dom kicks out at two. Go for a stunner. Dom reverses into a super kick. KO falls to the ropes, and then he goes for a 619. Now, Dom has one of the slowest 619s I ever seen. Maybe Rey Mysterio was just so good at the 619 that when anybody else does it, it just doesn't. Because he just don't get the speed on it, so he never had the go around for it. Um, yeah, it always just looks so slow, and I'm like, how does nobody reverse this? He does it so fucking slow, bro. But KO ends up kicking out at two. Dom then tells Truth to get a chair. Truth is confused. Truth is saying some shit back to him, but I'm not really paying attention to what like the conversation is. Truth ends up getting a chair, and he just ends up sitting on it. He doesn't ever get in a chair, just watching the match from there, seated. KO hits a super kick, hits the pump up power bomb for the win. Pretty good match. I liked it. Like I said, it wasn't. Uh, is the result you're looking for? No real development other like the R-Truth stuff is just they're gonna keep doing this forever. I'm gonna complain about it every week. I'm probably gonna stop complaining about it honestly, but they're gonna keep doing this shit forever. It's not gonna stop, and that's just something we're gonna have to accept. Well, it's really me that's gonna have to accept it. Drew is backstage for his usual. I don't even know why he's on SmackDown. Like people that's on SmackDown wasn't even on the show. Like Randy Orton wasn't on the show. Um, that's only an example I have. That was just off the top of my head. I kind of just noticed that he wasn't on the show. I'm like, why is Drew here if he's not even like a SmackDown superstar? But Drew basically is here to, I don't know, address some things that he said last week, but just come with more points about it. He said all the people in the chamber want to win it, but he needs to win it. No. Drew says that he needs to win it for Raw, the people, and the world title. Because people deserve to have him as a world champion. And then he calls himself the WrestleMania Savior, and LA Knight just randomly interrupts. Randomly, just don't know why, but yeah. LA Knight tells Drew that he'll steal his momentum in the chamber. Not momentum. He'll steal his moment. I don't know why I said momentum when I literally wrote down moment. Um, he'll steal his moment in the chamber, and Drew says he sees right through his little facade, his ways. He tells him he's insecure that all this talking that he does is just a gimmick, which is Drew. I don't know if you noticed. All this is just a gimmick. And then Drew tells him the fans may be behind you now, but in a heartbeat they will turn on you just like they turned on me, which I thought was a good thing because I do remember when Drew, was a face for most of that 2020, and then kind of people hated him as champion a little bit. Then he lost to Bobby at WrestleMania. And then the refs get in the middle of it and break it up. Something else was said in there, like after Drew said that they'll turn a new line. LA Knight says something which I just didn't really understand. Then it's basically them just setting up a match for next week, which they do confirm later. So that's a match for the basically go home show for um, next week, which is good. Um, which I am remembering why, not why some people are not here, but why Drew would be here. Basically this week, I get it. It is essentially just to set up that match with him, LA Knight, And if you didn't know, like they're not taping SmackDown next week. It's gonna be pre-recorded, so they're basically taping two shows in one night. So they did this show, and then they're doing that go home show. Roman shows up to the arena. I guess this was like an earlier clip. He shows up to the arena, hugs Jimmy, and says, "I don't really know what he says. He says, let's fix what somebody messed up or somebody's mess." I don't know the name he said. It felt like he said Jimmy, like let's fix Jimmy. I don't really know what that was about. Anyways, that was that. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate have a backstage segment. It was like at first it was like a little comedy bit between Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, and them like I guess picking a name. They were kind of talking about beating Finn and Balor, but it was them like picking a new team name, and it just seemed like British sports comedy to me. Like I didn't really get the joke, but Dom ends up interrupting, and he says, "You think you're gonna be?" It's basically that you think you're gonna be a Priest and Balor. You can't even beat anybody else in Judgment Day. And then Tyler Bates like, "Oh, we'll face you and Truth." He's like, "You know, Truth's not a part of Judgment Day." And walks away. And he says, "Oh, I guess we'll fight um Dom and JD." So that match is set for next week on SmackDown. Like, it's just a lot of things that you could tell like that are setting up for next week on SmackDown because once again, double tapings, so they're doing a lot of things that's like, hey, we're setting this up for next week, but really we're just gonna do this match later, which is it's smart. It's smart booking when you like think about it that way. Next match is Zelina Vega versus Tiffany Stratton. This is an easily booked match. Tiffany hits like a cool version of an Alabama Slam. It was like a cartwheel, and then she like kind of like picked her up and then slammed her. It was a very Tiffany Stratton has a pretty cool moveset. I could say that. I like her moveset a lot. It was nice. It was really nice. So the match progresses past that point of her hitting the that cartwheel Alabama Slam right behind it pins to the crowd right behind the announce table where Legado del Fantasma is at ringside. Interesting way to like book this match. She gets distracted. She pulls. Don't know what the woman name in that group is. Forgot her name. She pulls her out of the crowd. She basically goes back in. I forget what move Tiffany Stratton does, but yeah, she ends up hitting the prettiest moonsault, and that moonsault is for sure a pretty moonsault, and she ends up picking the win. Tiffany Stratton has qualified for Elimination Chamber. Segment is a OC segment where it's like AJ Styles in the back, OC come in the locker room. Carl Anderson kind of makes a joke like he must have forgot where he came. No, it was Meechin who was saying you haven't returned our calls or our texts. Basically, I feel like people are just stealing segments at this point because this is what Dakota Kai said last week. But yeah, he's just like you're not returning our calls or text, and then Carl Anderson said he must have forgot where he came from. The AJ Styles gets up and smacks him, and which I thought was kind of cool. Another smack leading to a feud. Carl Anderson. Did I say Carl Anthony Towns? I might have said Carl Anthony Towns. Carl Anderson then says, "You're lucky. If you was anybody else, we would have a problem." So that looks like it's about to lead to a feud between, maybe OC and then AJ, a civil war, if you will. Then we have a damage control segment where EO says Bailey likes to act like the group's success came off the back of her. And that is so, it is true in a sense. Because when Bailey was in that group at that time, especially early on, they were really not winning many things. Like if you remember, it started in that summer of that SummerSlam in like 2 years ago. Like what was that 2 years ago? 22, and they kind of went right into a feud with like Bianca. It was mainly that feud with Bianca, like Bailey versus Bianca. 'Cause Bianca was women's champion at that time, and I remember what's her name? Becky was in that feud. She came back at like around Survivor Series for War Games, and that kind of led to that. But at that time, they were just losing a lot, and Io does make a good point in that. She said the group may have been Bailey's vision, but they made it into what it is now. I guess when she says they made it into what it, I mean she means like the Kabuki Warriors of the addition of Kairi Sane and Asuka. Once they came into what it is, it started becoming successful, which is true in a sense. Not saying Damage Control wasn't winning, but they wasn't winning at the rate they was. You know. She said all of them are champs because they are strong together. She is not the same superstar that she brought into Damage Control 2 years ago at SummerSlam, which this is such a good promo because you're laying out the stuff. Like you're putting the details. Like yeah, you did this, you pulled the strings, you pulled the string, but all this isn't because of you. Is really because of like it's such a this is such a good storyline. One of my favorite storylines, honestly. He says this is Io's era. By the way, she's cutting this whole Japanese. She's cutting this whole Japanese. She's cutting this whole promo in Japanese, which, if you remember, on Monday or rather Tuesday, I told you guys I love when these superstars cut their promos in like Japanese or even like just a different language. It just feels like oh this is real. This means something. But you may say this is Io's era, and she will embarrass her at WrestleMania. Which is, this feud was so good that I forgot. I forgot this was a WrestleMania match. Honestly, she calls Dakota Kai stupid for siding with Bailey, and she better sleep with one eye open because they're coming for her also. And then she says nobody is ready for Damage Control. Good promo, man. It's a very good promo. This next match is basically AOP versus NXT Jobbers, and this Final Testament entrance, it looks like a 2K entrance. Like anybody can make that entrance on 2K. That shit stinks. They just look horrible. But they basically just hit their finisher. This match is literally like no more than 2 minutes. It might be no more than a minute. It's somewhere in that range of like a little bit over a minute. But yeah, nothing. They just dominate them and that was it. Y'all could have cut a promo and accomplished the same thing. But I guess Logan Paul is backstage and he is doing his backstage interview with Byron Saxton. Says everybody could thank him for being able to watch his first televised match. And this is his first televised match. All the other matches he had were on pay per views, and every time he was on TV, he was just not wrestling. He was just doing other shit, basically. Tried to get a hashtag going, so like hashtag thank you, Logan. Uh, Probably didn't work. Don't gotta search that up. Just probably didn't work. He's once again said the same thing he said last week. He's gonna knock out the Miz. He's gonna he's gonna basically win the Chamber and beat Seth in the WrestleMania rematch to become a double champion. And he's like, I like how that sounds. Double champion Logan Paul. Good for you, Logan. Miz Wills Logan, the final men's, almost said Money in the Bank, final men's Elimination Chamber qualifying match. It was a pretty decent one. Like, it wasn't, like, obviously great. But this goes for Skull Crusher finale. Logan Paul kind of reverses it by just backing him up in the corner. Hits him with an elbow or something like that. And then he tries to go for like a big line, like a big jumping clothesline in the corner. Misses, kind of like lands on the middle rope, and then Miz kicks his legs from under him, and he's like trapped in the ropes, and he hits like a code breaker, which was kind of a cool spot, not like anything crazy, just kind of cool. We're gonna hit Skull Crusher finale, kicks out at two. Miz goes to Skull Crusher finale. Logan flips him over, goes for the roll up, and then Miz somehow counters the roll up into a figure four. Logan grabs the rope because he's a long guy, man. He's just he's lanky. He basically the moment he gets in the figure four, all he does is like stretch his body. He's at the ropes. He pulls himself out of the ring. He basically goes to some, this is every Logan match so far. There's a guy over there just holding brass knucks for him. Holds the brass knucks. He's about to put it on, then Miz comes from behind, attacks him, grabs the brass knucks, argues with the ref a little bit. Then he basically just tosses the brass knucks away. Then Logan basically goes back in the ring. I don't remember how he got back in the ring, but he ended up getting back in the ring. Miz is about to like springboard dive, and he like hits Logan with like a forearm. He's about to enter the ring, and then Logan like pulls his leg, and then kind of like makes the rope low blow him. Then hits him with a punch, the lucky punch, I guess they call it, because he has a titanium fist. He needs a finishing move like that's not that. Because he did that, and then he just hits like a weird move, like a very weird slam. Like he knocks him out, and he like kind of holds him, and then he just slams him, and then he beats him. And Logan Paul is qualified for Money in the Bank. I think that's the right booking decision. Weird way to end the match, but it was an okay match. Like outside of the ending, good match. Fix the ending, it goes higher for me. This backstage segment with a lot of moving parts. Is You have Tiffany Stratton, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Braun Baker, Nick Aldis. It's just a lot of things. So Tiffany Stratton comes in and she says, "This is gonna be my first chamber. I don't really know how this works. Who do I pin first? You or you?" And she was talking like Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair. They get into it a little bit, and then Nick Aldis tells Adam. I almost said Adam Pierce. Nick Aldis tells Tiffany to like just get out of here, get out of here. It's not the time for it. And then he's sitting with Jade Cargill and Braun Baker, talking about signings, it was just a weird segment in my opinion. It just didn't really. I understand what it was trying to do, but it just was like whatever. Grayson Waller is seen with Paul Heyman getting advice because he's doing something at Elimination Chamber with Cody and Seth. They're having a segment. This could be a Raw segment or a SmackDown segment, but they're saving it for the pay per view because nobody fucking knows, bro. I don't even know why they're doing that. We'll see what happens at Elimination Chamber in a week, I guess. And then we get to Naomi versus Alba Fire. This was supposed to be Naomi versus Shotzi, but Shotzi ended up getting injured on what was it, Tuesday. So yeah, she's definitely fucking hurt. So they had to replace her, get Alba Fire in there. Naomi hit like a 619 Bulldog type move, which I like Naomi's moveset a lot. Her moveset is pretty cool, like one of the better movesets in this in WWE. It's between her and Tiffany Stratton who moves that like the most. Probably Naomi. She hit that 619 Bulldog type move. She later in the match hits a head scissors DDT, and then she goes for some type of submission, like a Koji clutch or some shit. I don't know. Naomi wins. She qualifies. She's the final woman to qualify for. No, she's not the final woman. She qualifies. But Dakota Kai runs into Bailey backstage. She's telling her that she really needs her help. She's scared that Damage Control is going to do some things to her, and she doesn't want them to do those things to her. And Bailey just said, "Look, I got a lot on my mind. Can't really help you right now." Basically told her just fuck off. Like I can't, I can't do nothing for you. I don't got nothing for you. And then Nick Aldis comes out. He says he was talking to two potential signees, two of the biggest free agents on the market, which is Jay Cargill and Braun Breaker. And he says, "I have signed one of them." And he brings it out. He brings out Braun Breaker. So you could kind of guess that Jay Cargill is going to sign with Raw on Monday, which good. That's a good choice to put her there. There's not really much for her on SmackDown. Like maybe if Charlotte was still here, you could have did something with her. Obviously, her and Bianca, like maybe could do something, but For the most part, yeah, I think Raw is where it's at for her because she could feud with Becky, she could feud with Nia, she could feud with Rhea. I don't think they're gonna do. She'll probably feud with Nia most likely. Uh, that could be a WrestleMania match maybe. Obviously, had Jay Cargill go over. But yeah, that could be that. Now we're coming to the final segment of the night. The final thing of the night, really. The Bloodline segment with Rock and Roman. There's a lot of speculation for this, and I have opinions when we get to some of these things. Roman says something about he has purposeful information that you need to listen to, and he said this is a historic night of making The Rock a member of the Bloodline. He said some other things, but in my opinion, those weren't as important as what he said right there. So The Rock basically comes out right after that. Rock comes out and basically says they have broke a record in here in Utah and Salt Lake City. He says that here they broke a record for the largest gathering of trailer park trash. He's back to his stick of basically he's just going to be like Hollywood Rock. Yeah, he's an asshole again. Great, feed into it. He says, finally, you and your 50 wives will have a story to tell. Finally, you will have a story to tell your 600 inbred grandchildren. Which was funny because he's kind of shitting on Mormons. Which, that is very, very funny. I like that shit a lot, bro. That just made me laugh, man. It didn't actually make me laugh. It was like, this is okay. I like this version of you. And he said, you people brought a side out of Rock that you haven't seen for a very long time. And that is true. The last time Rock was like this was like '03, '04 maybe? Like '03, '02. I think it was like '03 for sure. But yeah, that's the last time really people seen like a real heel Rock. He said they had the biggest main event in WrestleMania history, and you flushed it down a toilet. You flushed down the toilet like the toilets you sit on when you're tweeting away about we want Cody and finish the story. Basically, just back into shitting on Cody, which good further the feud. And then he kind of presents a good question about what is Cody's story actually. He said last year you lost at WrestleMania to Roman, admittedly, and now you want a rematch. And he said in any situation in real world or sports world, that would not make sense. He said that would be like the 49ers who have just lost the Super Bowl saying we got to finish our story and getting a rematch. He said no, like be a grown man about it. Take your loss and move on and work your ass off. But he's not acknowledging the point that none of this was like announced. Like, all right, like if you think about it in a storyline purpose, the whole like it was always speculated like this was gonna happen between Rock and Rome. Nothing was ever mentioned on WWE TV. Nothing was ever mentioned. It was like the build up to the Royal Rumble. Rock said something about the head of the table. We remember that little segment. Oh, I'm saying something about the head of the table, right? And then Cody wins the Royal Rumble, and then Rock is like, "I want to fight Roman." Basically, that's when the main event gets presented in a storyline purpose and just storyline purpose. Obviously, behind the scenes is whatever, whatever. He's not acknowledging that Cody won the Royal Rumble twice. We understand that he lost last year at WrestleMania, but it's not like he just got another opportunity. It's not like immediately after he lost Roman, he's saying next year I'm fighting you again. Same place, same time. It's not like he's saying that. He fought his he been in multiple feuds to like keep his character afloat. He won the Royal Rumble to like guarantee that spot. Like I don't like there's flaws in what The Rock is saying. Like a lot of flaws. I'm just like that doesn't make sense, bro. I understand like as a heel what you're saying, but There's a way you could say this better. He says the fans can't understand that, Cody fans, because they're entitled bitches. And I was like, ooh, okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting that you would say that, Rock. Very interesting. And he said he's gonna do everything in his power to make sure Cody stays the same, so Cody can stay a loser. Which, ah man, it's just I don't know. That's an interesting point right there because it's like you're feeding into the board member storyline too. And do I like that storyline? A little bit. Like I think they should say it, but don't keep mentioning it. Like it should just be known on the top of your head that hey, he's a board member and he has most of the power and he could do this and do that. And then he calls the Bloodline the most powerful group in ever. Basically, that's what he said. He basically said that, and he basically did his stick about uh, if you smell, and he's like, no, 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 you guys don't deserve that. And then he just does it again, and I was like, what? And instead of the Rockers cook, he's like, what the Bloodline is cooking, and they all raise the ones, and the show basically goes off the air. That was it. Roman said a little bit in the beginning, and then he didn't talk at all. Uh, Roman has no aura no more. He just doesn't have it. He just got little bro. Like it's this whole Rock thing is like taken away from everybody's shit in this story. It's just taken away from everybody's shit. It's like I don't know, bro. Uh, I think it could be interesting, but it needs to like just not. Don't fuck Cody, bro. Just don't. Anyways, yeah, that was SmackDown. It was a interesting show. I just wish Raw was this quick sometimes, but it's not. Yeah, I'll try not to be negative with this one, but that's hard sometimes, bro. Um, when a lot of things suck, when the main storyline sucks, it's hard not to be negative about it. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's gonna do it for me. If you did enjoy, sure to leave that like, subscribe, comment some shit in the. You mean? See you next episode. Peace.